Most people lose control long before they realize it. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they reveal it too early. They speak when silence would have protected them. They correct when observation would have empowered them. They expose awareness in environments that reward opacity. The result is subtle submission. Information becomes expectation. Expectation becomes pressure. This is where Machiavelli's insight cuts sharply. The appearance of ignorance can preserve freedom in a world that exploits clarity. Number 1, the first principle is strategic unreadability. Machiavelli wrote that those who reveal their full capacity invite containment. When others know exactly what you see, understand, or anticipate, they begin adjusting their behavior around you. This adjustment is not for your benefit, it is to manage you. Strategic unreadability interrupts this process. Appearing less informed than you are does not require dishonesty. It requires restraint. You do not volunteer conclusions. You do not rush to demonstrate insight. You allow others to reveal themselves first. Sun Tzu emphasized that concealment precedes advantage. When your awareness is unclear, others speak more freely. They explain more than necessary. They expose priorities, fears, and assumptions without realizing it. The illusion of ignorance becomes a mirror that reflects truth back to you. This is not weakness, it is positioning. By withholding display, you preserve choice. Choice is power. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I remain unreadable. Number 2, the second principle is information asymmetry. Robert Greene observed that power flows toward those who know more than they reveal. When you openly display knowledge, you collapse the informational gap. When you appear unaware, the gap widens in your favor. People explain things they assume you do not understand. They justify actions they think you cannot see through. They underestimate your ability. Machiavelli understood that being underestimated protects autonomy. When expectations are lowered, pressure decreases. Others stop guarding themselves. Their caution dissolves. This creates space to observe without interference. Information asymmetry does not require manipulation, it requires patience. You listen without correcting. You ask without asserting. You allow conversations to unfold without steering them prematurely. Sun Tzu warned that premature movement reveals intent. Strategic stillness hides it. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I gather before I reveal. Number 3, the third principle is freedom from imposed roles. Once people believe they understand you, they assign roles: the expert, the problem solver, the challenger. Each role carries obligation. Machiavelli warned that obligation limits maneuverability. Appearing ignorant dissolves role assignment. When others do not know what you know, they cannot define what you should do. Expectations weaken, demands soften. You regain the ability to choose when and how to act. Robert Greene noted that those who resist definition maintain leverage. Faked ignorance, understood correctly, is not deception. It is refusal to be premature. Sun Tzu taught that flexibility depends on undefined form. When form is unclear, movement remains free. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I refuse premature definition. This is only the foundation. In the next part, the deeper mechanics will unfold: how apparent ignorance protects against manipulation, how it stabilizes authority, and why silence often outperforms demonstration. Once unreadability is established, a second layer forms beneath it. This layer is not about hiding intelligence, but about controlling engagement. This is where apparent ignorance stops being a shield and starts becoming leverage. The environment begins to change because others behave differently when they believe they are ahead. Number 4, the fourth principle is pressure deflection. Machiavelli observed that expectation is a form of control. When people assume you know, they demand. When they assume you do not, they explain. Explanation reduces pressure. Pressure disappears when there is nothing to demand. Appearing ignorant removes urgency from others' behavior. They stop pushing for answers. They stop rushing you toward decisions. They slow themselves down to bring you up to speed. In doing so, they reveal timelines, priorities, and anxieties. Sun Tzu taught that when the opponent rushes, patience becomes an advantage. Apparent ignorance creates patience around you. That patience gives you time. Time restores control. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I am not rushed. Number 5, the 5th principle is immunity to provocation. Provocation relies on awareness. Insults, challenges, and subtle tests are designed to trigger reaction by targeting ego and competence. When you appear unaware, provocation loses its grip. Robert Greene noted that reacting confirms relevance. Non-reaction, when grounded, dissolves it. Apparent ignorance creates ambiguity. Others cannot tell whether you noticed the slight or simply dismissed it. This uncertainty discourages escalation. Machiavelli understood that visible pride invites attack. When pride is concealed, attackers lose direction. They do not know where to strike. Sun Tzu warned that empty feints waste the opponent's energy. Ignorance, real or perceived, turns many provocations into wasted effort. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I am unmoved. Number 6, the 6th principle is authority through restraint. Authority is often misunderstood as demonstration. In reality, authority is restraint under capability. Machiavelli wrote that power weakens when it must constantly assert itself. When you appear ignorant, you are not asserting, you are observing. Others begin to speak more, justify more, and fill silence. Over time, your quiet presence becomes a reference point. People wait to see if you will respond. Waiting is acknowledged. Sun Tzu emphasized that stillness can command movement. When you do not rush to prove understanding, others adjust to you. They repeat themselves, they simplify, they seek confirmation. This reversal subtly elevates your position. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: my restraint commands respect. Number 7, the 7th principle is protection from responsibility traps. Competence attracts burden. The more capable you appear, the more problems are handed to you. Machiavelli warned that usefulness without control becomes servitude. Apparent ignorance protects you from being overloaded by expectations that do not serve your interests. When people believe you are not fully informed, they hesitate to assign responsibility. They seek alternatives. They manage their own issues. This preserves your energy and focus. Robert Greene observed that scarcity of availability increases value. By not advertising awareness, you avoid being drafted into every decision. Sun Tzu taught that conserving strength is essential for decisive moments. Apparent ignorance conserves strength. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I protect my energy. Number 8, the 8th principle is delayed revelation. Timing determines impact. Knowledge revealed too early loses force. Knowledge revealed at the right moment reshapes outcomes. Machiavelli understood that surprise alters balance. By appearing ignorant, you delay revelation. You allow events to develop. You gather context. When you finally speak or act, your contribution lands with weight because it was not expected. Sun Tzu emphasized that striking when unanticipated multiplies effectiveness. This is not about deception. About patience and timing. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments: I choose my moment. This is the middle layer of the strategy. Apparent ignorance now protects you from pressure, provocation, and unnecessary burden, while quietly elevating authority. In the next part, the final mechanics will emerge: how this approach reshapes perception long-term, stabilizes influence, and creates quiet dominance without exposure. At this stage, the illusion of ignorance has done its internal work. Now its external effect becomes visible. The environment adjusts. People recalibrate how they speak, how they plan, and how they move around you. Not because you demanded anything, but because uncertainty has entered the equation. Uncertainty changes behavior. Number 9, the 9th principle is perception management through absence. Machiavelli understood that what is absent often carries more weight than what is present. When you do not immediately display understanding, people begin filling the silence with their own assumptions. Most of those assumptions favor the speaker, not you, and that is precisely why they talk more. Robert Greene wrote that absence sharpens curiosity. When your thoughts are not visible, others become preoccupied with guessing them. This mental occupation gives you psychological space. Space allows observation. Observation restores leverage. Sun Tzu emphasized that when the opponent reveals himself, advantage shifts. Apparent ignorance creates that revelation without effort. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I allow others to reveal themselves. Number 10, the 10th principle is long-term unpredictability. Predictability limits influence. Once people think they understand your range, they plan around it. Machiavelli warned that familiarity reduces caution. Apparent ignorance interrupts familiarity before it settles. Because your understanding is unclear, others cannot map your responses accurately. They hesitate before acting. They soften language. They leave room for adjustment. This hesitation is not fear, it is calculation. Calculation signals respect. Sun Tzu taught that unpredictability prevents containment. When form is undefined, control becomes difficult. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I remain unpredictable. Number 11, the 11th principle is reduction of conflict without submission. Many conflicts arise from visible disagreement. When intelligence is displayed openly, it invites opposition. Apparent ignorance avoids. You do not argue. You do not correct prematurely. You do not expose. Robert Greene noted that winning without engaging preserves power. By withholding visible opposition, you avoid unnecessary friction while maintaining internal clarity. Sun Tzu emphasized that avoiding battle can be a strategic victory. Apparent ignorance allows disagreement to pass without escalation. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I avoid unnecessary conflict. Number 12. The 12th principle is internal composure. Appearing ignorant externally requires clarity internally. This practice strengthens self-control. You learn to observe without reacting. You separate awareness from impulse. Machiavelli believed that self-command precedes all influence. When you are not compelled to demonstrate understanding, your mind becomes quieter. Quieter minds process. Sun Tzu wrote that calm perception outperforms haste. Apparent ignorance trains calm. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I observe calmly. Number 13. The 13th principle is delayed positioning. Positioning too early exposes intent. Machiavelli warned that early alignment creates enemies unnecessarily. Apparent ignorance allows you to remain neutral until clarity emerges. Do not commit immediately. You do not signal preference prematurely. Robert Greene observed that neutrality preserves options. Options are power. Sun Tzu emphasized waiting until conditions mature. Apparent ignorance gives conditions time to reveal themselves. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I preserve my options. Number 14. The 14th principle is influence without assertion. Influence is often strongest when it is indirect. When you appear ignorant, suggestions carry more weight later because they arrive unexpectedly. People listen more closely when they did not anticipate insight. They reconsider when ideas appear after silence. Machiavelli understood that surprise alters hierarchy. Apparent ignorance makes later clarity impactful. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. My words arrive with impact. This is the final internal shift. Apparent ignorance has now reshaped perception, reduced conflict, preserved options, and strengthened composure. One final In the last part, the complete picture will close how this approach creates sustainable influence, ethical restraint, and quiet authority without exposure. At the final level, the appearance of ignorance stops being a tactic and becomes a discipline. It is no longer about what you hide, but about what you choose not to display. This is where Machiavelli's insight reaches maturity. Control is not gained by proving superiority, but by mastering restraint. The upper hand belongs to the one who cannot be easily read. Number 15. The 15th principle is sustainable influence. Machiavelli understood that influence built on display is fragile. Influence built on restraint is durable. When people are unsure of your full capacity, they continue to factor you into their thinking long after the interaction ends. Robert Greene noted that mystery sustains attention. Once everything is known, interest fades. Apparent ignorance preserves mystery. Mystery preserves relevance. This creates influence that does not depend on constant performance. You do not need to remind others of your value. It is assumed, not advertised. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. My influence is sustained. Number 16. The 16th principle is self-protection through ambiguity. Clarity exposes direction. Direction invites interference. Sun Tzu warned that visible intent allows others to counter before action begins. Apparent ignorance keeps intent up. When others cannot tell what you are thinking, they cannot easily interfere. They hesitate, they wait, they observe instead of obstruct. This ambiguity is not deception. It is privacy of mind, and privacy of mind is a form of security. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. My intentions are protected. Number 17. The 17th principle is ethical restraint. This insight is often misunderstood. Appearing ignorant is not about misleading others for harm. Machiavelli warned against reckless exposure, not against honesty itself. Ethical restraint means choosing timing, not abandoning integrity. You do not lie. You do not manipulate. You simply do not reveal everything at once. Sun Tzu emphasized that wisdom lies in knowing when not to act. Restraint keeps strategy aligned with conscience. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I practice ethical restraint. Number 18. The 18th principle is calm authority. Authority does not require dominance. It emerges from composure. When you are not reactive, not eager to display insight, and not defensive, people sense steadiness. Robert Greene observed that calmness is often interpreted as confidence. Confidence attracts trust. Trust stabilizes authority. This authority is quiet. It does not compete. It does not rush. It simply remains. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. My authority is calm. Number 19. The 19th principle is freedom of movement. Machiavelli believed that flexibility preserves power. When others do not know your full position, you retain the freedom to adjust without contradiction. You can change course you can adapt without appeal. Sun Tzu taught that adaptability defeats rigidity. Apparent ignorance keeps your movement unrestricted. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I remain flexible. Number 20. The 20th principle is internal mastery. The greatest benefit of this practice is internal. You stop needing recognition for intelligence. You stop equating worth with display. This strengthens self-command. Machiavelli believed that mastery of self precedes mastery of circumstance. When ego quiets, perception sharpens. When perception sharpens, decisions improve. Sun Tzu wrote that victory begins within. Apparent ignorance trains patience, humility, and focus. If this principle resonates, drop this affirmation in the comments. I master myself. This complete faking ignorance, when understood correctly, is not about pretending to be less than you are. It is about refusing to give away leverage, clarity, and freedom too early. It is about timing, restraint, and control of exposure, not deception, not weakness, but disciplined silence in a world that rewards those who speak too soon.